Okay, folks, there could be a quiz as soon as tomorrow. And if I give you 2 points on a line, you should be able to find the equation. The calculator can do it for you. Where would you go? Stat edit, stat calculate, and this is linear. So what is the equation? Make sure you start always with y equals. Y equals negative 1x plus 1. Are we okay with that? Now, even if you got the answer from the calculator, I would still suggest you check it. I would go to y equals and put in the answer. The slope was negative 1 and the y-intercept was positive 1. And then I would check that both of those points that you were given are in fact in the t-chart. Negative 2, 3. There it is, negative 2, 3. And the other point was positive 6, negative 5. And there it is. Okay, if you didn't get it, then check to see you put the points correct. Stat edit, stat calculate. Now, how could I make this one a little trickier? Well, if I only give you 1 point, that's not enough information. I could give you a point and a slope. I'll do that in a second. But what could I make you do to this answer? Standard form, which they love to do that, which means there are no fractions, so at least that's not too bad. But the x's and the y's are on the same side. So what's another version of this answer? X plus y equals 1. And yet another version of that would be negative x minus y equals negative 1. Okay, then do it again. All right, now let's try one that's a little trickier. How about this? All right, what kind of line is this? All lines are straight. Who said straight? It is a horizontal line. Now, if you forgot that it's a horizontal line, I don't know what's wrong with your calculator. I'll have to look at it in a minute. If you forgot it's horizontal, you could always do the math. Y equals mx plus b. Grab a different calculator. Something's wrong with that one. Reset it and then try it again. You could always plug this in. Even though the number 0 for some reason makes kids freak out sometimes, it's just a number. My y number is 9, my m number is 0, my x number is negative 5. What is 0 times negative 5? So what's my b value? 9. So I could write this as y equals 0x plus 9. Now, do they normally write 0x? They would just write y equals 9. It's horizontal. Now, if you knew the trick, if you knew that it was horizontal because all horizontal lines have slopes of 0 and all horizontal lines are y equal a number, all you need is one y number. They're all the same. Y equals 9. Okay, now that's a little bit different than this situation. And this one you really can't do the math for. This situation you have got to pretty much memorize. Did somebody say guess? Well, guess. Well, your conduct grade is what it is. Okay, now, this is one where you have to know the trick here. Because you cannot put undefined into an equation. That doesn't exist. That's not a number. You can't plug it in anywhere. What? So what is the answer? X equals negative 3. This is the only kind of line that doesn't have the letter y in it. This is a weird situation. This is a weird situation. You just have to memorize that. Once you know one x number, this is a vertical line, you know all of them. It's x equals negative 3. Okay, so that's 3 situations you should know how to do. If I give you 2 points, and if I give you horizontal or vertical. Let's make it a little trickier. What if I give you a point and a slope like this? And it's not horizontal or vertical. You've got to plug it in. What are we missing here? The b, the y-intercept. So since I don't know the y-intercept, I've got to temporarily plug some numbers into y equals mx plus b. Where do I get the y number? From the y value of the point. Where do I get the m number? Because I gave it to you. I told you the slope was negative 1/2. Where do I get the x number? From the point. And the b number is what I am trying to find. Now, I like it when this happens. Sometimes you have a fraction, but it ends up going away. What is negative 1/2 times positive 4? It's negative 2. And if you don't know that, get your calculator to do it. Chris, this is why you have a C in conduct as well. So negative 7 equals negative 2 plus b. Now what? That is not it. Add 2 to both sides, and what do you get for b? Negative 5. Now, some kids are stopping right there. That's not the answer. I want the equation of the line. What's the equation of the line then? Very good. Y equals negative 1/2 x minus 5. Now, here's what I would like you to do, especially on a quiz or a test. I would like you to check it. I'm going to put in y equals negative 1/2 x minus 5. What am I checking? Exactly. I need to make sure that point that I was given is on the line. Is the point positive 4, negative 7 there? There it is. And is the slope that I was given correct? Yes. So that makes me have a nice warm fuzzy feeling that I did it right. And again, that's why you have a C. Okay, now let's try this one. Oh, a gift. Sometimes I give you gifts. Look at number 3. That's a pure gift. As in present. As in this is easy and you shouldn't miss it. Y equals 2x minus 4. Okay, here is the opposite of a gift. This is one where you've got to work a little bit. I am giving you a point and a slope, but I'm doing it in a tricky way. Yeah, parallel lines have the same slope, but different y-intercepts. So parallel lines have to have the same slope. So I am telling you what slope to use in a tricky way. I need the slope of negative 1/3 because parallel lines have the same slope, and I need to go through this point. Do that, please. What's missing here? The b value. All right, everybody should be working on this problem, folks. It's not optional. Christopher, that means you. Andrew, stop eating your pencil and do this problem. I did not. Please do this problem, Christopher. The homework's right there to meet you or grab a copy. Why do you have... You don't have a B, you have a C. Because you can't act right. I think she's capable. Christopher, if you don't get this right, I'm giving everybody 5 extra problems for homework. You have 2 seconds to get started. 1, 2... Okay, I'm not playing with you today. Because he doesn't talk as much as you do. Okay, folks, you're talking, all of you that are complaining about your conduct grade are constantly talking, even right now, complaining about your conduct grade. So guess how you're starting the new 6 weeks? With a C. And I'm going to go down from there. It's about to be D for... Yeah, D for detention. Alright, what did y'all get for the y-intercept, folks? The y-intercept was also negative 1/3? What's the y-intercept of this line? Negative 1 equals negative 1/3 times negative 4 over 1 plus b. You gotta do some solving here. Y equals mx plus b. What is negative 1/3 times negative 4? Okay, I want to talk about this one. I'm glad I forgot about this, guys. I want to show you something because I have kids who are getting to this step right here and getting stuck. And I think that why you're getting stuck, or why some of you are getting stuck, is because of what I taught you in the first semester. I taught you to get rid of a fraction. And I think some kids are still wanting to do that. And I don't care if you do it that way. That's perfectly fine. And it's really easy to do if you know what you're doing. How could I make this fraction go away? Multiply everything by 3. Here is where kids mess up, though. The b must also get multiplied by 3. At this step right here, you can either get rid of the fraction and then keep on solving, or you could use your calculator, and I don't care which way you do it. What I taught you in the first semester before we had calculators, I taught you to get rid of the fraction. Multiply everything by 3. Negative 3 equals 4 plus 3b. Make sure everything gets multiplied by 3, including that b at the end. Move the 4 over, you get negative 7 equals 3b. Then divide by 3, so you should get negative 7/3 for your b value. So now I've got my slope and my b value, I can write the equation. Let's back it up. Let's go back to this step right here. Let's say you don't want to get rid of the fraction. You really like the calculator. That's fine too. But you have to know the rule or the steps for solving an equation. If I want to use my calculator to finish this, perfectly fine as well. I have got to get the 4/3 though to go to the other side. And right now it's adding to the b. What's the opposite of adding? Subtracting. So I've got to subtract 4/3 from negative 1. So I'm going to do negative 1 minus 4/3. And my calculator is going to give me the same answer, except it gave me the answer in decimal form. But all I've got to do is take that decimal, that negative 2.333, and I just need to change it to a fraction. Math, enter, enter, and sure enough, I'm going to get the same b value that I got when I got rid of the fraction, negative 7/3. Still not done. What is the equation? Y equals negative 1/3 x minus 7/3. And what if I wanted to be really mean? What could I make you do to that answer? I could make you put it in standard form. This is why. Right there. Okay. Now, get out your notes. Today we're learning something new. That's okay, on that last problem, if I wanted it in standard form, you would have to multiply it by 3. You cannot have fractions in standard form. Today we're talking about perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines. Perpendicular lines are not like parallel lines. Why? They cross each other. They absolutely must intersect. And in fact, they intersect at a right angle, at a 90-degree angle. This is the symbol for perpendicular lines, and I will use that sometimes in place of writing the word perpendicular. It's a right angle. It's not a B, it's not a chair, it's a right angle. Okay, now they do have a relationship between their slopes. They can't have the same slope because if they had the same slope, they'd be what? Parallel. But there is a relationship between their slopes. Okay, and this is the relationship. Their slopes are opposite reciprocals. They are opposite reciprocals. So write that down and then we'll talk about what it means. Most kids don't have a problem with the opposite part, but the reciprocal part, they're not quite sure what that means. Reciprocal is a word from when you first learned about fractions. Okay, so what does opposite mean? What does that mean mathematically? It's the other one. Okay, like what's the opposite of 2, guys? There you go. So how do you find the opposite of something? You you change the sign. Oh my gosh. Y'all are killing me. Opposite means change the sign. So the opposite of negative 5 would be positive 5. The opposite of negative 2 would be positive 2. The opposite of 6 would be negative 6. To find the opposite of a number, you change its sign. All right, reciprocal. What does reciprocal mean? You flip it, exactly. It means you flip the numerator and denominator. Flip it. Reciprocal means flip it, opposite means change the sign. So if I tell you a line to be perpendicular to, you look at the slope and you change it two ways. Guys, y'all need to get quiet. You change the symbol and you flip it upside down. So before we start doing some math problems, let's just talk about perpendicular slopes. I'm thinking of a line that's got a slope of 2. If I want to create a line that's perpendicular to it, then what slope should I use? Not just negative 2. Okay. Okay, it would be negative, but it's not negative 2. All you did was change it. You changed the sign, but you didn't flip it. Oh, I hear it. Yes. Negative 1/2. Thank you. I didn't hear you. I'm sorry. Okay, I'm sorry. Gloria said it, and what's your name? I'm sorry, I forgot your name. Eric said it. No, you. I can't think of your name. I always want to call you Manuel. Okay, I'm trying to give you credit. All right, the slope should be negative 1/2. Are y'all with me? Okay, first of all, 2 is like 2 over 1. If you flip it, it becomes 1 over 2. If you take its opposite, it becomes negative. So you've got to do two things. You've got to flip it upside down, and you've got to change its sign. No, reciprocal is like the flip of it. Okay, so if the slope was 1/4, what would be perpendicular to it? Negative 4. If the slope was negative 2/3, what would be perpendicular to it? Positive 3 over 2. If the slope was 6, what's the perpendicular? Negative 1/6. Christopher, spit out your blue gum, please. And I will get your detention ready for you. Okay, here's a problem for you. Let's apply that to math. To lines. Alright, I'm thinking of a line. It goes through the point 6, 3, and it is perpendicular to y equals 2x minus 7. Okay, gum is not allowed in lunch. Gum is not allowed in the hall. Gum is not allowed in the classrooms. It is your fault. It was your mouth, your gum, your decision, your detention. All right, let's try this problem, folks. I know, right? Oh my God. Okay, let's do this problem, shall we? Here is the slope of this line. It's 2. What slope should we use? Negative 1/2. Do I need the negative 7? No. Now, you might end up with the same y-intercept. If you did, that would kind of be a fluke. Parallel lines cannot have the same y-intercept, but perpendicular lines can. So I know what slope to use, and I've got to go back to the point that was on the line, and now I've got to find what? The B. Do that, please. Plug it in. Let's find the B. Everybody. I don't know what stars you're talking about. Okay, I crossed off the negative 7. Because I don't need to know about the y-intercept. I need to know about the slope. Because once I know the slope and I want to be perpendicular to it, I know to flip it and change the sign. Then I came back to the point. I'm going to use the slope that I just figured out I needed. I don't need the y-intercept of that line. I just needed to know the slope. So y equals m times x plus b. Our fraction should disappear right here. So 3 equals negative 3 plus b. What does b equal? 6. Some kids were telling me 0, but it's not 0. You add 3 to both sides. Now, I'm still not done. What is the equation of the line I was describing to you then? Y equals negative 1/2 x plus 6. Please, let's look at this in our calculator, because I want to show you that perpendicular lines in the calculator do not really look perpendicular. And it's because your line, your picture, your screen has been squished. So I want you to see what this looks like. First of all, y equals negative 1/2 x plus 6. That's what I think the answer is. I need to check that the point 63 is on that line. So first thing I'm going to do is look at my table of values, and 63 is on the line. Okay, so I know that the line is correct. I just want to see if it was in fact perpendicular to the line I started with. Is it going to be perpendicular to y equals 2x minus 7? It definitely is, but I want to show you how it doesn't really look so perpendicular in the screen, because your calculator screen is squished. So do you see how these don't really look perfectly perpendicular to me, but they are. And the reason I know that they are is because I know about their slopes. If one slope was 2, the other slope is negative 1/2, and yes, they are going to be perpendicular. If you had a perfectly square screen, it would look better than that, but they are perpendicular. I crossed out the negative 7 to show you that the only thing you needed from this line was I needed to know what this slope was. I don't care about what the y-intercept is. I care about what the slope is. And if it's perpendicular, I've got to flip it and change the sign. I only needed the m from this, and then I find my y-intercept. All right, let's do another one. Number 2. Number 2, I'm going to give you a point that's on the line, or a point that the line goes through. It goes through the point positive 3, negative 5, and it has to be perpendicular to y equals negative 2/3 x plus 6. So, in a roundabout way, in a tricky way, I am telling you what slope to use. What slope do I need to use if I want to be perpendicular to this line? 3/2. Did I need the 6? No. I need to find my own y-intercept. Could it possibly be 6? It could be, but it probably won't be. But my point is, I needed this, I didn't need this, and I needed to flip it and change the sign. Now I take my point, my slope, and I find my y-intercept. I do not. Alright, so negative 5 equals 3/2 times my x value of 3/1 plus b. Negative 5 equals 9/2 plus b. Here's where you have a choice, guys. If you're a calculator person, get your calculator out and do the subtracting of 9/2. If you just want to keep on solving it, if you want to get rid of the fraction, that's fine too. If I got rid of the fraction, I'd have negative 10 equals 9 plus 2b. I would double everything. I'm getting negative 19/2 for my b value. Okay, and I also would have gotten that if I was a calculator person. I would have, right here, I would have done negative 5 minus 9/2. And it's going to give me a decimal answer, no problem. It gives me negative 9.5. Just hit math, fraction, enter, enter. Negative 19/2. So my equation then would be y equals 3/2x minus 19/2. There's my whole answer. I'm going to go to y equals and check it. I'm going to put in y equals 3/2x minus 19/2, and I better have that point of positive 3, negative 5 better show up in my t-chart, or I did something wrong. And it does show up. Positive 3, negative 5. And it definitely will be perpendicular to the line I started with, whether it looks like it is or not. Y equals 2/3 x plus 6 was the line I started with. And I would at least look at it and see if it kind of semi-looks... Ooh, what did I do? I left out the negative sign. They should at least look semi-perpendicular. It's not going to be perfect, but they should definitely look like they're... Well, the line I gave you right here, I told you to be perpendicular to it. So I put that line in there just to see if it looked perpendicular. And it does. It looks kind of squished, but they are perpendicular. Lines that meet at a right angle. All right, number 3. Try this one. Every once in a while, I'm going to throw a gift in there for you. Number 3, here is a gift. I want you to be perpendicular to y equals 4x minus 1. And I want you to have the same y-intercept. The same y-intercept as y equals 2/5 x minus 6. That's perpendicular. Same y-intercept. You're supposed to know about math and just write this answer down. No. You have it backwards. I want you to be perpendicular to this line. So what slope should you have? Negative 1/4. I want you to have the same y-intercept as this line. So what's your y-intercept? Minus 6. So y equals negative 1/4 x minus 6. Bam. No work to do really except to know about perpendicular lines. What? Okay, I wanted you to be perpendicular to this line. That means the only thing you need to know about this line is its slope. Perpendicular lines have opposite reciprocal slopes. So this line's telling me what slope to use. I think I am speaking English. I want you to have the same y-intercept as this line. What's the y-intercept of this line? So what y-intercept do I want you to use? What's the slope of this line? 4. And I want you to be perpendicular to it, so I want you to use negative 1/4. Okay, now, here's one where you really are going to have to work for it. Number 4. I want you to write a line that contains the point positive 2, negative 8. So there's my point that I have to use. Boys, I'm getting very, very irritated. And I want you to be perpendicular to 3x minus 2y equals negative 8. Okay, do you see what I did there? I did standard form. You have to put it in slope form. Why? Because you have to know what slope this line has, and I cannot tell what slope this line has. Somebody told me this line's slope was 3, because all they did was look in front of x. This line's slope is not 3. No, it's not 3x either. I don't know what this line's slope is yet, because it's in standard form. So this problem has several phases. Phase 1 is find this line's slope. Do that. Solve it for y. Put it in slope-intercept form and stop tapping. No, I noticed. Just like you talk every 5 seconds. Oh! 10 seconds? Oh, okay. That's a record for you. Do you have the slope yet? What is it? No. That's something you're doing wrong. You're not working. Solve this for y. If I give you a line that's in standard form, you cannot tell what the slope is when a line is in standard form. So if I give you a line to be parallel to or perpendicular to, your first job is to make sure it's in slope-intercept form. And if it's not, you got to change it into slope-intercept form. This 3x has got to come over here. That's why it became negative 3x. You've got to divide everything by negative 2. And now I want to look at the equation of this line. Y equals positive 3 over 2x plus 4. I had to do all of that just so I could see what this line's slope is. If I wanted to be parallel to it, I would use the exact same slope. But I don't want to be parallel to it. I want to be perpendicular to it. So what slope am I supposed to use? Negative 2/3. Do I need the 4 here? No, I don't need the y-intercept. I needed to know what the slope was, so I would know what to do to the slope. If I want to be perpendicular, I change the sign and I flip it. Now my work really begins. Now I need to find the b value for my particular line that goes through this point and contains and has this slope. So that's where I'm going to plug in everything to y equals m times x plus b. Negative 8 equals negative 4/3 plus b. Here's where you have to make a decision. Am I a calculator person or am I a get rid of the fraction person? Calculator people, you would do negative 8 plus 4/3. Get rid of the fraction people, you would multiply everything by 3. But pick a way and go with it, folks. You got to pick a way. I usually get rid of the fraction. I'm just going to be a calculator person for today. So I'm going to do negative 8 plus 4/3 because I've got to get that negative 4/3 to go to the other side. It's going to give me a decimal answer. Just hit math, fraction, enter, enter. I'm getting negative 20/3 as my b value. If I was a get rid of the fraction person, I would have multiplied everything by 3. So my new equation would now be negative 24 equals negative 4 plus 3b. Add 4 to both sides, and I'm going to get the exact same answer. I'd get negative 20 equals 3b. b equals negative 20/3. So whether you're a calculator guy or a get rid of the fraction person, you're going to get the same y-intercept. Now I can finally write the equation. Y equals negative 2/3 x minus 20/3. There is my final answer. And what could I do if I wanted to be really mean? Make you put the answer in standard form. I'll think about it. Stop getting on my nerves and I'll think about it. Oh, you are on my nerves. Yes, you are. All right, how about this one? I want you to try just the one at the top. Try this one, please. 2 of your questions on your homework are going to be something you got to look at a picture for. I'm giving you a point and an equation of a line, except I'm giving you it in picture form. I'll highlight some points for you here. I know it's hard to see from where you're sitting. If you want to be perpendicular to line L, which I did say I want you to be perpendicular to line L, then you must know what line L's slope is. What is the slope of line L? Down 1, 2, 3, and over 1. Down 1, 2, 3, and over 1. So this line has a slope of negative 3. So what slope do I have to use? Positive 1/3. So that's my slope to use, positive 1/3. And I got it from the picture. I counted out what this slope was. I flipped it and changed the sign. And you also have to go through point Q, which I didn't tell you the coordinates. I gave you a picture of it. Where is point Q? At 3, 2. So now you have a point and a slope. Get busy, find the B. Everybody, on your mark, get set, go. Because you're not working. Don't you like it when the fraction disappears on its own? Two equals 1 plus b, so what does b equal? 1. So the equation then would be y equals 1/3 x plus 1. You also could have done it from the picture. What do you mean flip it? I flipped the slope already. Okay, so I'm going to go up 1 and over 3, or I could go down 1 and backwards 3, down 1 and backwards 3. And sure enough, it's going to make a perpendicular line. Oopsie. I counted that wrong. From point Q, I'm going to go down 1 and backwards 1, 2, 3, and I did land on positive 1 on the y-intercept, down 1 and backwards 1, 2, 3, and then connect those dots, and you will end up perpendicular, and you will have a y-intercept of 1. Okay, I think that's enough for today. Your homework, I did have a set of problems on the Promethean board, so I'm going to show those for kids in first and second period if they didn't get a chance. So here are 1 through 8, and then 9 and 10 are the visual ones. I'm going to give you guys, I made copies, so I'm going to give you guys copies.